Yeah, I can't get over the fact that how much stuff you gotta take apart to freaking get to the oil pan. Jeez. What's up, guys? It is JD from Let It Rip Side by Side and Adventure. Welcome back to the channel. We have another video here. This is a garage day. As you can see, we're in the garage. Now, I'm actually recording this a couple days after we had finished Brutis up, but this video is in regards to exactly that Brutis. It is 2018 XP Turbo. It is Dylan's rig. You see him all the time on the channel. We've been having problems with the oil plug for quite a while now. We knew it was on its way out. It finally said, I quit, thread stripped out. Had no choice but to replace the oil pan. Now, rumor had it, you can actually get the oil pan out. We wanted to find out. We were not able to find a lot of information, and come find out it is possible, so you'll have to watch the rest of the video for that. With that being said, the big news for the channel is we reached out to not only a lighting company, which that is good, they have not released their product yet, but we will let you guys know when that happens in regards to rock lights, some whips, miscellaneous other stuff with that. We should have a discount code for you guys. Speaking of discount codes, we reached out to GLifeUTV. These guys right here. Not sure if you're familiar with GLifeUTV. I've been watching these guys for a while. He really is killing it in the side-by-side industry, but he has created almost a portal, a central hub of some of the best manufacturers of aftermarket parts for side-by-sides in the game. You can find right on his website. So in our link below, down below in the description, we will put affiliate link, takes you over to GLifeUTV, and these are just a small fraction of some of the companies that he has on his website. He's got HCR, he's got PRP, Rugged Radios, KMC Wheels, Zebros, Garmin, Keller Ball Joints, and the list continues from there. He's got everything from RPM to you name it, and possibly Bikeman Performance maybe joining the group as well, so that would be absolutely awesome. So if you hit that affiliate link, go to GLifeUTV, pick yourself something out, order it. Be sure to put in Let It Rip 5. I'll put that right here. Let It Rip 5 saves you guys 5%. Now, if you're getting yourself into some of that HCR racing suspension or something crazy, 5%, that's a big savings. Now, we get a small kickback, comes directly back to the channel. We stick that stuff right back into the rigs to hopefully continue producing and creating content for you guys. But enough of that stuff. Don't forget, Let It Rip 5. Head over to GLifeUTV. Let's get to the video. My light guy here, buddy. Just kind of shine up where we're talking about here. All right. So move on up in here. Okay, so this is kind of where we're at here, guys. All right. Now, supposedly they say you can roll the motor on a 2018 up far enough to be able to drop the oil pan out of the bottom. So pretty much tonight we just started removing some of the stuff in the way to kind of get to that point. So we're gonna get a cherry picker from a buddy. We're going to remove this motor mount eventually once we get it hoisted. Now, we've come to the determination that the bed is most likely it's going to have to come off, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now the reason why we're doing this is you can't find anything as far as replacing that. Obviously, everybody knows pulling the motor is the easiest route. But if we can find an easier way to not have to pull the motor out, compromise wiring, stuff that hasn't been apart for a minute, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just right. We're going to leave it the way it is. It hasn't missed a beat in 5,000 some miles. Why chance it now? So, right. So tomorrow we're going to come back, guys, and we are going to get the bed and stuff pulled off, correct? Yeah,
that's the plan.
Yeah, so now Dylan, he's got he works his ass off. He's got the kiddos at home, so he'll be sneaking over once the kiddos go to bed. But the next couple days, we're going to periodically keep tearing into this and see what we can come up with. So
hopefully we can get it running.
That's it. So we'll pick you up tomorrow. All right, it is the next morning. I am here by myself. So what do we got going on? That's what we got going on this morning. So recap. Oil pan needs to come out. Now, we did insert a Healy coil. You can see it sticking out right there. The Healy coil worked, but the oil plug would not stay tight. It was walking itself back out. So last thing we wanted to do is jam some red Loctite on there, not be able to get oil out, or it fall out on the trail and have catastrophic failure. So we have heard that with the 2018, it is an oil pan on the bottom of these, hence that sitting right here. So rumor has it you didn't have to pull the motor, which is indeed the case and the way we wanted to do this. Now, to do it properly, this is what you got to do to this rig to get the motor up high enough to get the oil pan out, because obviously you've got to get it high enough because you've got your oil pickup hanging out the bottom of the motor right there. So with that being said, you do have to pull the bed off. Bed's got to come off out of there. Back of the roll cage has to come off, your hoop and your downs, because you got to get the bed off. You can't get the bed all the way off with the roll cage in the way, because the bed sits inside, or it sits around the post of your roll cage. Once you get that done, we did get the exhaust and stuff out of the way. I did take the radius rods off due to the fact that when I jacked the back of this motor up, which it is actually pivoting on that rubber mount right there. Now the reason we did it that way is because we did not want to compromise the clutch alignment or transmission to motor mounts. Those have all been good on this rig, so we didn't want to break them loose. If it ain't broke, don't fix it type attitude. We wanted to leave that right like it was. So we loosened this motor mount right here, 2 bolts here, 2 nuts on here on the other side. Got myself a couple straps, as you can see, up to the upright, and then just 1 click on this side, 1 click on the other side. Was able to pivot the motor up far enough that we had room to get that out. Now, be careful of your sway bar link. You'll see right down in there, it is actually smashing a couple of the coolant lines, so you don't want to get too crazy. And take the time to make sure you have everything unhooked before you start jacking that motor up. Might have unhooked more than necessary, but I would rather make sure everything is disconnected and free floating, and that way when we started lifting that up, you weren't rupturing air lines, end up with a boost leak, something stupid. So once again, that's one reason why we're doing this video, guys, is because we've heard that it is possible to take an oil pan off of a 2018 without having to pull the motor. There was very little information about it, so we decided, you know what, let's try it. And it is indeed true. Do you have to disassemble quite a bit of the machine? Yes, but it's all just hex bolts and those push pins and a lot of just stupid zip ties and some other stuff, so nothing was extremely difficult to get apart. It's just a time-consuming, tedious process. But if I would have started this, I could probably had it tore apart in a couple, 2-3 hours. Oil pan's out, Dylan's got the replacement. We're gonna get it cleaned up and start slapping this rig back together. You know, and another reason why we didn't want to take it so far apart, it is a 2018. Hasn't been apart since Dylan's owned it. The way it looks like, it hasn't been apart in a long time. And we all know, especially you start talking turbos, exhaust components, heat cycles, we already snapped a couple bolts on the exhaust, so we were doing everything in our willpower to leave that motor in this rig to get this oil pan fixed. I know I've been flapping my gums, but hopefully that helps you guys out. If you do got a little older of a rig, check to see if it's got an oil pan. You do not have to pull the motor to replace that pan. It can be done without it. Time consuming, yes, but we wanted to make sure we did it right. So, oh yeah, one other thing too. You will have to remove your drive shaft because you cannot get your oil pan out. Biggest trick I know is, biggest thing I'm afraid is going to be difficult is this screen actually sits in those little divots in the bottom of your oil pan, and you have to not only use gray silicone, there ain't a gasket or nothing, so you got to get all your gray silicone and stuff on there. With this sitting in the bottom of the pan in those little divots, get everything up underneath that motor without messing up not only your silicone so it don't leak, but then make sure that you get this screen to seat back up on your oil pickup like it's supposed to. And I feel it's going to be one of those, if I have to force it up in there, it's not right. But that's pretty important. We got to make sure we get all that stuff lined up, because last thing, I don't want to do this again. We're looking to do this right the first time and go from there. So either way, waiting for Dylan to come back over. He's going to bring an exhaust gasket. He has the extra oil pan. His part of this whole ordeal was, since he's got the kiddos throughout the weeks, get the oil pan cleaned up. Once you get that oil pan back, we can start slapping Brutis back together. You know, if you're not familiar, if you go back a little bit, we did actually just do some work on Brutis. It does have wheel bearings, I believe one front, one rear, and then we also did upper and lower ball joint in the front. Kind of went through the rig. She got banged up, beat up a little bit, but it's one of those. Once we get this oil pan done, Brutis should be back to 100. Should be ready to ride. So I'm excited to get Dylan back out on the channel again. This is getting kind of long, guys, but that's kind of where we're at. We'll pick it back up when we start putting stuff back together, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, so this is the next day. As you can see, I'm not in the garage, I'm walking out in the yard because boom, there is Brutis. Brutis is officially up and running. Now, we did have to change a couple things or make an exhaust gasket and some other stuff, but we didn't want to wait. We did have one on order, so we just made one, and no exhaust leak, no fluid leaks. We did find several things that might actually improve how this machine performs as far as the performance side of things, because we found not only was a blow-off valve loose, which is going to cause you a leak in the system, and then we found actually on the back side of the turbo, one of the lines going into the turbo was charred and had a couple cracks where it was leaking as well. So I did take it out for a ride, and I feel it is actually a little more responsive since we took care of those leaks. But with that being said, you can't find a lot of information on getting an oil pan off a motor on the bottom of these older Razors on the internet, especially a 2018 XP Turbo. It was suggested to us. We've seen a thread that said it can be done. Now, we removed as much of the components as we could to get them out of the way, because we wanted as much controlled lift on that motor. Not only didn't want to damage the rubber mount on the back of that motor, but we didn't want to crack any lines or break anything or pinch any wires, because everybody knows you start pinching wires and damaging wire harnesses, you know, trying to get these things out of there can cause some, you know, gremlins down the road. But with that being said, we have everything back together. It seems to run right, it seems to drive right. So lately we have done an upper lower ball joint, we've done wheel bearings in several different locations, replaced the oil pan, fixed the exhaust leak, fixed a couple boost leaks, and I think Brutis is just about ready to go. So if you guys have any questions on this content as far as what it took for us to get to that, I know we didn't cover the detailed side of things, feel free to leave it in the comments or ask a question. We will reply to all the questions if you have any concerns or what we ran into or anything like that. But as of right now, no oil leaks. She runs great. She's got a little more pep in her step. Brutis is back up and running. Thank goodness. It'll be great to have Dylan back on the channel. Like we always say, guys, appreciate the support from each and every one of you. Thanks for watching. And if you want, go ahead, subscribe, hit that thumbs up, hit that notification bell if you want to see content when we post. And like we always say, on to the next adventure.